Hi friends, welcome back to the First Gen Money YouTube channel, a place for all things money and lifestyle from a first gen millennial's perspective. So last week I did a video on what to do if you've been laid off. What are some things that you can do after receiving the news that you've been laid off? So if that's where you are right now, go and check out that video. I'm gonna put a link up here for it. Today though, I'm gonna focus on how to prepare for a recession, for when shit hits the fan. You can't really prepare for it if it's already happened. So this video is kind of like, it hasn't happened. How do you set yourself up financially to be ready to tackle what is coming ahead? First, are we or are we not in a recession? The entity that decides whether or not we are in a recession, the National Bureau of Economic Research, has not decided that we are in a recession yet. There are a lot of things that factor into making that call, but typically what we think about when we're like, are we in a recession? It's like 2 consecutive months of just negative GDP. But for the National Bureau of Economic Research, they look at other factors to determine whether or not we're in a recession. And some of those factors include employment, our real personal income. They look at retail sales, general consumption to make this call. So they're not just looking at one factor, but they're looking at all of them. And although it may seem that at least in my bubble and maybe yours, it feels like everybody is having layoffs, still, if we're looking at the bigger picture of the US economy, employment is still strong. So that's why they haven't been like, yes, we're in a recession. With high inflation, I'm feeling it, and I'm sure you are too. Every time I go to the grocery store, I'm just like, why is a box of 4 butter sticks $7? It feels like, although we're not quote unquote in a recession, something is happening. Something's up, things are definitely not just status quo right now, and that we might be headed into something in the next year. So in preparation for that, we cannot time the market. We cannot say on February 16th, 2023, we cannot do that. So the best thing for us to ask ourselves is, how can I personally put myself in a stronger financial situation for when a recession comes, or for when a layoff for us comes? Because there could be layoffs and still no recession claim. That's what we're gonna focus on today's video, is how do we put ourselves in a stronger financial situation. The first thing that we're gonna do in order to really try to put ourselves in a stronger position is to understand where we are right now. We need to know what our current financial picture looks like. This really just looks like having a clear idea of like, what is in your savings account? How do you access that money? What debt do you have? What upcoming events are you planning? Do you have a wedding coming up? Are you planning something big that's gonna cost some money? Like, what is your current situation? Look at the next year. Think about, like, do I have enough in my savings to cover that? Take assessment of your current standing. Know what your situation looks like right now, today. If something were to happen, what do you have money for, and what are your responsibilities? So make a list of all of those, your savings, your debt, your just minimum bare expenses. What does that look like on a monthly basis? And make out a list of the things that you have coming up that might be costly. So this takes us into number two, which is save up an emergency fund. Call it what you want, emergency fund, a security blanket fund, whatever it is that you want to call it. If you took a look at your financial picture and you're like, oh, I only have 1 month of expenses saved, then beef it up. The standard recommended is 3 to 6 months. Personally, I am saving at the 6 to 12 months because I want to give myself that time if I need it. Right? I don't want to be stressing after 3 months trying to figure out what to do next. And it's not that, you're just going to use this 3 months, like your emergency fund, to just like hang out. If we are in a recession, if we do get to that place, then it might be a little difficult to find a new opportunity. So 3 months, probably wanna just increase that a bit. It's just not that much time. 3 months go by like this, one step at a time. You don't have to save 7 months, 12 months in a night, right? Like slowly get your way up there, but definitely start putting more into this fund so that you have more funds when the time comes. Some things to include here in your 6 months, 12 months living expenses is what helps is if you try to live below your means, right? If you realize that right now you are spending a lot more than you are making, then things need to be adjusted. Look at your minimum must pays every month and see what are some things that you actually don't need, don't bring you joy, that you can remove so that you can actually have less that you need on a monthly basis. Take a look at how you're spending. This is the moment now where you want to be like, okay, what are some things I can do without if an emergency were to happen? And right now, because the interest rates are getting increased by the Federal Reserve, our high yield savings accounts are actually looking pretty good in terms of interest rates. So make sure that your money isn't just sitting in a Chase savings account or whatever other Bank of America with a low percentage, with a low interest rate attached to it. I'm gonna put a little photo here of what is on the Ally site, and you can see how the interest rates just vary by the different banks. So make sure your money is in a high yield savings account, and I'll put a link to a video up here so you can see how to open that. Put it in there, make sure you actually are getting some kind of return on the money that you have. Number 3 is evaluate your career and look for ways to increase your income. This doesn't mean that you need to have a side hustle and you need to do like 12 jobs at once, but are there ways that you can make yourself more marketable if you were to be in the job market again? What are some free classes that you can take online that can maybe help you stand out when you are interviewing for new positions, or just become a stronger candidate? I use LinkedIn Learning. It is free with my New York City library card. So that's an option there. There's a lot of courses on that, on everything from marketing to, I'm sure, software engineering stuff. Figure out what your career situation looks like. See where there are areas for you to just continue to improve without it feeling like you're doing a lot all at once. Another thing related to your career that is not necessarily on taking courses or learning something or getting certified is network. I shared this in the last video, your network is everything. So make sure you connect with your former colleagues. Make sure that you're just keeping a strong network of people, because you never know when they might be able to help you with an opportunity at their job. Your network is very important. It is everything when it comes to your career. So make sure that you're really flexing those networking muscles, because they could come in handy. And you don't want to be that person that just reaches out when they want something, right? So just continue to have a relationship with those people in your network and have yourself be top of mind for others. Another way to do this without maybe having one-on-one coffee chats with people is start posting on your LinkedIn about something that interests you, about maybe a space you want to go into. Make your personal brand really stand out. Again, people who have established themselves as leader in a certain space is always going to be more attractive than a candidate who hasn't. So how can you increase your personal brand and just stand out more in those career-related spaces? All right, number 4, pay off that high interest debt. And I say high interest because we're not concerned right now about paying off our 2.3% mortgage. That one, I think you can hold on to that one for a little longer, but pay off those credit card debts, any high interest debt that you have, because it is costly. Like I said, the Federal Reserve has increased interest rates, which actually helps us when we're saving money. But when we're paying off debt, when we have debt, it's not in our best interest. High interest debt is expensive because you end up paying triple what you paid for that original thing you put on your credit card with all the interest that gets added on. If you don't pay your bill off every month, then you're just paying interest on your interest. So make a plan for tackling that high interest debt. Maybe you're not gonna pay it off immediately, but you don't wanna be thinking about all of the payments you have to make towards your credit cards if something were to happen. Okay, number 5 is kind of personal to me right now, but it's avoiding those big purchases that are gonna take a lot of the cash on hand that you have. If you don't know, I got engaged this year. We will be planning a wedding. We haven't started planning it, but we will be planning a wedding and we wanna get married in 2023. Paying for a wedding is gonna be a good chunk of money. And so things like big expenses that are gonna take cash from my life are things I'm looking at very closely. I know I still want to have a wedding, but how can I do that in a way that isn't going to take a good chunk of money that could be used for other things if I needed to, right? And so for me, one of the strategies is like separating what is an emergency fund money versus what is money that is used for other things that like come up once a year, like our car insurance or life insurance that I pay for. Like I have those in different buckets, so I know what is allocated for what. And so that's one way I've gone to approach that. But if you are putting everything in one bucket and you've only allotted like 3 months for your living expenses and all of this, like maybe double that for something else, like reconsider it. Maybe you look at that for a few more months and decide, I'm gonna hold off on this purchase until I beef up this emergency fund. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I am saving for a 12-month emergency fund and then slowly gonna be saving for that wedding fund because I don't wanna just say I'm not gonna have a wedding because I am planning for a recession to happen one day soon, maybe. That's what they're saying. You don't have to like put it on hold forever, but pause it, think about it, and see what other areas that we discussed already you might need more work on before you start spending for this big expense. Finally, we are at number 6, and that is do not touch your investments, right? You have not lost money regardless of what it looks like when you log into your account because it has not been realized, right? You only lose money when you sell. If you don't sell, yes, it is low, but it's gonna continue to go up because historically, the stock market has gone up. There have been dips, major dips. It makes its way back up. So for us, for the long-term savings, it is important for us to ride this wave. Just ride it. I haven't really I actually have logged into my personal capital. I haven't let it like work me up so much to be like, oh, I used to have 100K and now I have 80K. Like, where did that money go? A lot of different places. But my point is like, don't get fearful about what's happening that you decide to sell your investments because we are playing a long-term game here. It's not about what we see right now. We're not losing money unless we are selling our investments. Just keep the same investment strategy that you have. If it's, maxing out your Roth IRA, contributing to your 401k, just keep it going, keep it going. Of course, evaluating the other areas of your life that we just talked about, like your emergency fund. If that needs a little more cash, then maybe direct some of those funds there. But don't stop investing just because you're like, we're at a low and I'm just gonna keep losing money because the stock market looks like it could be at a discount. Just continue doing what you're doing. Don't get scared. I know it looks scary when all we see is it going down, but it'll make its way back up. We just need to give it time. Those were like 6 things maybe to help us get started in thinking about how to prepare. In preparing for the inevitable, because recessions are inevitable. They happen. There's no way to say there's never gonna be another recession in our lifetime because there will be. It's just a matter of putting ourselves in a strong financial situation to be able to weather a storm of economic uncertainty because it is just it comes and it goes, right? It's not gonna be here forever. I hope that was helpful. I hope you found something here that you're like, actually, I could do more of this. And if you have something that you want to share, put it in the comments. Let us know what you thought about the video. And I will see you all next week.